Fairfield University. You're watching boys high school lacrosse on News 12 Varsity. Massapequa is once again one of the best teams on Long Island, and they have crossed a bridge to take on one of Connecticut's best for the second straight year as the Jesuits host a terrific non-league matchup. This is the Hospital for Special Surgery Game of the Week, and it features two of the best teams in the tri-state. Massapequa at 7-2 on the season take on the undefeated Jesuits of Fairfield Prep. And with that, we welcome you to Fairfield, Connecticut, where the Chiefs are on the road. Amanda Puglisi is on the sideline, and I am David Resnick. Tail of the tape for these two teams, both off to a successful start in 2019 and both coming off of championships a year ago. Massapequa, the Nassau A champions in Nassau County, and Fairfield Prep, the SCC regular season and tournament champions. Both offenses off to a sizzling start, while the defenses have been locked down as well. Angelo Petrakis is a returning All-American. Last year won 18 of 20 faceoffs. Will be a big piece of this game in addition to these four players. For Massapequa, Colin Gleason is the best offensive player for the Chiefs, nearly 60 points on the season. Kenny Brower, one of the best prospects in the class of 2019. He is a defenseman heading to Duke. Meanwhile, for Fairfield Prep, they feature the returning SCC Player of the Year and returning All-American Mason Reale on offense. It's a young defense for the Jesuits, and their goalie, Finn O'Connor, has spearheaded that unit with his veteran leadership. So Fairfield Prep completing a home-and-home against Massapequa. They are the hosts today for a non-league matchup featuring two of the best in the tri-state. Opening face-off is next. This is the HSS Game of the Week right here on News 12 Varsity. Overcast early evening here in Connecticut as the Chiefs of Massapequa are here in Fairfield County to take on the Fairfield Prep Jesuits. Second straight year these two teams are competing. And for more on this budding series, we send it down to the sidelines and Amanda Puglisi.
That's right, David. And last year, Fairfield Prep traveled to Long Island to play Massapequa, and Coach Radomski said it's only fair that we now go up to Fairfield Prep and we play them on their home turf. And of course, Massapequa had to sit in a little bit of that Connecticut traffic, which is why we're starting the game a little bit later. But Coach Radomski and his team are certainly ready for this one. And so is Fairfield Prep. The Fairfield Prep coaching staff says we're really looking forward to finding out a little bit more about ourselves. Of course, Massapequa is a little bit further into their season than Fairfield Prep is. But again, the coaching staff says we're curious to see what we bring to a good Massapequa team. And for both of these coaches, really, they're just hoping that this game is going to prepare them for their league games as they both go forward in the season.
A look there at Graham Nemi in his third season as Fairfield Prep's head coach. Longtime college assistant, grew up just outside of Annapolis before playing for the Terrapins of Maryland as the starters for each team line up. Sandwiching our officials for this evening, Louis Sochi, Lou DeMeo, and Craig Tarsi, terrific crew for tonight's non-league matchup. Fairfield Prep undefeated, including 1-0 in non-league play. Their last matchup here against Wilton, 10-6, defeating the Warriors in their first true test of the season. Some time off before getting ready for the Chiefs, who are now playing in their third game in 4 days. On Monday, and then yesterday a 22-2 drubbing of Hicksville, and then today before a couple of days off for the holiday break. Nick Scucciarini gets the start today. He's been splitting time with Joe Morand. A pair of seniors will each get a half, or at least that's what we anticipate. AJ Pilot out of the lineup. Jake McNally gets the start in place. And meanwhile for Fairfield Prep, Finn O'Connor, his third year as at least a part-time starter, has taken over the full-time job as a senior. 9 saves against Wilton. Max McGillicuddy with the face-off win. And a great start there for the Jesuits, as possession is one of their chief concerns going up against the All-American Angelo Petrakis. And that is their first key, possession. Can they win enough? We mentioned they lost 18 of 20 faceoffs last year, and this is a team that wants to run. But if they don't get possession, they need to be selective with their unsettled situations, and they're close D. Big test today. 3 brand new starters in that unit, as a look out in front is swallowed up. Scucciarini with a big save there. It was an open look right on the crease, and the Chiefs transition from defense to offense with the ball loose, but now settled by Garrett Givens, their terrific midfielder, part of a first midfield line that has returned intact for the second straight year. Keys for Massapequa, AP. Are we talking Amanda Puglisi? No, this is Angelo Petrakis. We talked about his ability at the faceoff X, their depth. 3rd game in 4 days. Can they run their second midfield line and their wing play? Looking for somebody to step up at LSM and help out Petrakis on the side. Will one of the 2 sophomores emerge for the Chiefs today and really take over that spot with the injury to Christian Moreno, still working his way back from an ACL tear from football season? First settled possession for the Chiefs. They've been working it around. This is Logan Tucker, the junior bound for Albany, left-handed as he cradles to the middle of the field. Greenbat spinning back, losing his footing on this Rafferty Stadium turf. Home of the Stags, and the Jesuits of Fairfield Prep get to use the facility to play their games. Eamon Hall getting a touch. Greenblatt one more time. And it's sent back to Sam Lufty. Injury-plagued junior season. He's back as a senior and productive. He'll take a shot that bounces wide. It's back up there by Colin Gleason, the 3-year starter bound for Siena. 32 goals, 27 assists. He's been key offensively for the Chiefs, who have now won 5 straight. Over midfield, over and back. That is a turnover, Fairfield Prep ball. They'll have to restart near the logo, and they do in the form of Mason Reale, a senior bound for Villanova. Talked about some of his accolades in our open. Best player in the conference last year. Straight line drive right in front, and that's high. Ethan Grandolfo misses high over the crossbar. Got to the dirt right in front and couldn't convert. Fairfield Prep out of the Southern Connecticut Conference, number 2 in the state. Massapequa out of Nassau County on Long Island, 6th in Class A, according to the state sports writers. Left alley dodge for Essie. Inside move, right to the crease. A flag is thrown as Grandolfo gets knocked from behind. And Kenny Brower, the defensive stud, gets called for the penalty. It's a 30-second push with possession. Jesuits go man up, 30 seconds. And not only does Fairfield Prep get the extra man opportunity, but going to the side to take a knee is arguably the best defensive player on Long Island. Sean Gillespie coming in to replace Brower on the man down unit for Massapequa. 4 minutes deep, still no score. Fairfield Prep won the opening faceoff. Each team has had at least one settled possession. Penalty has elapsed. Inside move and a score, just ducking his shoulder underneath. Ethan Grandolfo scores just as the penalty expired to put the Jesuits in front 1-0.
Fairfield Prep goal scored by number 41, Ethan Grandolfo.
Missed a golden opportunity earlier in the possession. Got by McNally getting that spot start today, and he puts it away for a 1-0 start. Max McGillicuddy on the right side of your screen went 14 of 19 and scooped up 8 ground balls in the victory over Wilton. He won the opening faceoff cleanly, and now he's in a battle against Angelo Petrakis. Jesuits 2 for 2 on the faceoff. Huge early development as the Jesuits so far have controlled possession. Kyle Colucci checking in, part of the second midfield unit. He's out there with Peter Cavanaugh and Jack Essie, I beg your pardon. This is Jack Essie, member of the state championship hockey team. Spins it to Patrick McAlevey, and now the jump shot there by Reale into the corner, and Massapequa closest where and when to earn possession for the Chiefs. Closest one to it might have been the goalie, Scucciarini, who left his circle and sprinted to the far side of the field. Brian Herinsky triple teamed, and he tosses it outside of the reach of Owen Vale. And Massapequa on the road here at Fairfield Prep. A couple of early turnovers, giving it back to the home squad with a 1-0 lead as we approach the midway point of the opening frame. This is Connor Boyle, 44 in white, bound for Vermont, one of the rare 3-sport athletes at Fairfield Prep, not counting those that are part of the running program. Boyle, a captain in hockey, captain in lacrosse, gaining a step, trying to free the right hand. Good slide by Brower, and a tough angled shot is slung wide of the frame. Ethan Grandolfo wanted number 2. Reale on the restart, dodging from X. Trying to get by Dan Callan. He takes a pop as he releases the shot, and the loose ball is collected by Boyle. Reale ducking inside and bouncing one home. A shot fake and a score, and a 2-0 lead for Fairfield Prep.
Fairfield Prep goal scored by number 29, Mason Reale.
Reale getting inside position against the short stick. Brian Herinsky got in tight and bounced one home for his 15th goal this season. Second team All-State as a midfielder in his sophomore year. Followed that up with an All-State season first team as a junior. Petrakis wins his first face-off and then tosses it away. Third turnover by Massapequa in this opening quarter. So good news, bad news. Angelo Petrakis and the Massapequa face-off unit wins their first draw, but then they promptly throw it away. Unsettled for Fairfield Prep. Didn't convert with numbers against Wilton. In order to run, Graham Nemi saying you need to win face-offs and make saves. Can we do that today against Massapequa? That will determine how much we're able to run. Because if we don't, and our defense is playing long stretches, we're going to need to give them a rest and make sure that we possess the ball offensively. Four minutes to go, first quarter. 2-0 Fairfield Prep. Grandolfo and Reale, the goal scorers, both attackmen for Fairfield Prep. DJ Rohatch, a senior bound for Quinnipiac in his second game, has entered the lineup. Reale draws a slide, matched up there against Sean Gillespie. And a timeout taken by Fairfield Prep. Jesuits have the lead, but Graham Nemi in his third season after more than a decade as an assistant coach at Yale wants to talk things over. And Lou DeMello would like to take a look at Rohatch's stick. So Massapequa, again, as mentioned, one of the best teams on Long Island. We already know this based off of their first 9 games of the season. And amazing to think that with a week left in April, there are just 4 games remaining on the regular season slate. Couple of big matchups with rivals Farmingdale and Syosset up next, with East Meadow and Plainview JFK rounding out the 14-game schedule. And Massapequa, once again, in the mix. When you take a look at Nassau Conference A, Syosset, their lone loss in overtime to Cold Spring Harbor. You saw that right here on News 12 Varsity. Farmingdale, another strong season. They lost to Syosset in last year's Nassau semifinals. Massapequa winning it all last year for the 4th time under Tim Radomski, a native of Massapequa, nearly 2 decades as the JV head coach. And then now 11 years leading the Chiefs. A stellar run, 9 straight Nassau County finals, 4 titles, more than 100 games over 500 in his 11 seasons. And always good for a one-liner, or 2, or 3 if you talk long enough. Out of the Fairfield Prep timeout, 3:20 to go, first quarter. Jesuits with a 2-0 lead. Left-handed cradle to an open look and a big-time save. Reale picked up the loose ball. He was pushed into the crease. We played on momentarily. And now a reset. Those fans traveling up from Long Island didn't agree so much with the call as Peter Cavanaugh lost his footing. He'll dodge down the left alley. Extra pass, Reale slipped from his stick, and Thomas Greenblatt has the loose ball. He's hacked at midfield, spinning with possession and working with Gibbons. Garrett Gibbons into the box. Massapequa trailing by 2 can set up their offense with Colin Gleason. A spark behind the net. Liam Hawley has drawn that defensive assignment. 2 juniors and a sophomore in the starting close defense, all new to the starting lineup. And Massapequa breaks through right on the crease. Eamon Hall puts it away, cutting the deficit in half. The first possession for Massapequa that does not result in a turnover. And Garrett Gibbons dodging to facilitate, finds a wide open Eamon Hall for the tally. 21st of the season for the junior bound for CW Post. For Gibbons, he's heading to Maryland, the alma mater of Grand Graham Nemi, the head coach of Fairfield Prep, his 24th assist, second best on the team. Petrakis against McGillicuddy. Petrakis rakes it away to even up the face-off game at 2 apiece. 1 3/4 minutes to go in a fast-moving first quarter. Greenblatt against the short stick. Now it's Tucker. Momentarily draws a slide. Tucker with the step. A blast from the outside is deflected off of a helmet. Hawley got in the way of the blast from Gibbons. And it stays with the Chiefs. 5th road game of the season, 2 up and 2 down. They played both Garden City and Chaminade on the road. Both of those squads top 10 in the country. Under a minute to play, 2-man game with Tucker and Gibbons. Tucker slips inside, fires, and O'Connor shrugs it off. First save for Finn O'Connor, but the loose ball in front is stuffed once again, and flags fly with bodies colliding right on the circle. A terrific sequence for Finn O'Connor, but an illegal body check right on the doorstep will put Massapequa man up for a minute. Liam Hawley takes a knee for a minute. First extra man for Massapequa after Fairfield Prep did not convert on its only attempt earlier. From the angle, it skipped wide. Sam Lufty bound for Hofstra. As a sophomore, scored 3 times in the Nassau final, and then as mentioned, his junior season was injury plagued. Massapequa can hold and then have possession to start the second quarter. And it appears that is the thought process in the final 3 seconds of the first. Logan Tucker cradles it, and we head to the second. Fairfield Prep off to a terrific start. Last year they lost 12-5. They were down 8-2 at halftime to these Chiefs. And the Jesuits off to a 2-1 lead through 12 minutes of play on our HSS Game of the Week, the #1 hospital for orthopedics with locations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The best is now nearby. Back here on the campus of Fairfield University, Rafferty Stadium, Fairfield Prep leading 2-1 over Massapequa. The Chiefs have the ball, man up with possession. More on Massapequa and Tim Radomski, AP.
Well, David, of course, as you can expect, Coach Radomski telling his guys, hey, we got off the bus. It's a fresh start now. He knows his team started a little bit slow, and they were on the bus for over 2 hours, so the slow start was expected. He's telling his guys now it's 0-0. It's a new game. Let's play our game.
3 quarters to take over the lead. A bit of a hidden ball trick. Tucker never gave it up as the penalty is expired on the crease, and we are tied. Terrific ball movement right in front, and Sam Lufty dumps it in for a 2-2 game.
Massapequa goal scored by Sam Lufty.
So Massapequa does not convert on the extra man, but Fairfield Prep wasn't completely at full strength as the Chiefs spun the rock to the doorstep for Sam Lufty's 39th goal of the season, leading the team. So if Tim Radomski said the start of the second quarter was 0-0, that puts the Chiefs at 1-0. But 2-2 overall, and back to the face-off X. Max McGillicuddy for Fairfield Prep, Angelo Petrakis for Massapequa. And after dropping the first two face-offs, Massapequa has won 3 straight. And with possession, Tim Radomski calls time. Massapequa scoring the last 2 goals to tie it up against Fairfield Prep, who started with the first 2 tallies. Randolfo and Reale went back-to-back in the opening 7 minutes. Still early in the season for Fairfield Prep as they're off to a 4-0 start. 3 blowout victories in conference play, beating Shelton, Foreign, and Amity by an average margin of 14.5. They were tested this past weekend. A Wilton team out of the FCAC, the Warriors, year in and year out, one of the best teams in the state, but Fairfield Prep winning that match by 4 to remain undefeated at home. For Graham Nemi, former longtime coach at Yale, where Massapequa grad Nick Yavoli played, where Lucas Kotler of Syosset and Jack Ty of Chaminade and John Danigelis of Smithtown East were all recruited by that man right there. Has good Long Island ties. Part of the reason why he was able to set up this matchup with Massapequa was looking for perhaps a matchup with Farmingdale or Manhasset. Already embedded relationships with those programs and head coaches, and an assistant at Hofstra knew that Massapequa and Fairfield Prep were looking for a game last year and made the connection. And Graham Nemi saying, you know, we've played Del Barton, we've played St. Anthony's, we've played Chaminade over the years, all great games. We played New Canaan, we scrimmaged Greenwich, but there's something about Long Island public school lacrosse, and he wanted to make sure to get that type of matchup on the schedule, and he's accomplished that the last couple of years with this date with Massapequa. Last 2 goals for the Chiefs, Eamon Hall and Sam Lufty. This is Garrett Gibbons, right alley dodge, frees his hands, and O'Connor's got another stop, stepping out the leg to protect the post. That skip pass is deflected. It'll stay with Massapequa as the ball ricochets off of the stands and towards midfield. Logan Tucker will pick up a stray ball that is left for such purposes. 2 minutes gone by, second quarter. Colin Gleason looks behind, one more on the doorstep, and O'Connor denies Hall right on the crease. The officials conference and determined that the Massapequa player was pushed into the circle, did not have possession, so there is no penalty flag, but possession retained by the visitors. Started the season 2-2, alternating wins and losses since they've won 5 straight. Big reason why is Colin Gleason, who misses the target wide, has once again put together a terrific season. Worked his way back last year after a sophomore shoulder injury to be one of the leaders on offense. Gibbons, a rip and a score. Garrett Gibbons sneaks one by, and Massapequa has scored 3 straight.
Massapequa goal scored by number 7, Garrett Gibbons.
The dodge from Sam Lufty, the rip from Garrett Gibbons, and a pair of seniors combined for the 3rd goal of the game. 3 tallies for Massapequa, all of them assisted, and that's part of the offensive success for Massapequa. Dodging to facilitate, dodging to make the right play, and bypassing a good look for a great look. Angelo Petrakis was first on it, but he kicked it right to a Fairfield Prep defender. That's Brendan Howard. And now we're 3-3 in faceoffs. Jesuits thought if they could keep it 50-50, that would increase their chances of victory by a mile. McGillicuddy missing wide. He'll trot off the field. Offensive unit working its way onto the field for Fairfield Prep, who was scoreless in the last 8 minutes after scoring twice in the first 7. Right alley dodge. Jack Essie lowering the shoulder. Now it's Connor Boyle that nearly had a step. TJ Rohatch completes the midfield unit, and he comes in and fires one off the side of the net. Coming back from the right knee ACL surgery, also recent hip procedure. Just his second game back. Kenny Brower, physically, Tim Radomski saying already like a college sophomore, just an absolute beast. And so physical on the defensive end. Not bad in the clearing game either, as he successfully moves it to the offensive end for Massapequa. Over 10 minutes without a goal to start the game. They have rattled off 3 straight and looking for more. Another turnover against the Chiefs. Randolfo on the restart will take it into the box. Match there against Brower. As Amanda reported, as Fairfield Prep trying to take advantage of the substitution game, Peter Kavanaugh came rushing in. Chiefs spent more than 2 hours on the bus in Thursday afternoon Connecticut traffic. There is no reprieve going from Long Island to Connecticut in a bus. When we spoke with Tim Radomski earlier in the week and he told us of our plans, we kind of joked that they would get here by Friday, and they were delayed. Intercepted. Brian Horinsky picks it off, and he races forward with 6 3/4 minutes to go. Successful clear for Massapequa. And Gleason has it. Poked at by Howard. Tough matchup for the sophomore after Fairfield Prep lost a pair of first-team all-conference defenders off of the 2018 squad. Greenblatt uses the screen, bounces one wide of O'Connor, who's following in his brother Jack's footsteps, who's now a goalie at Bowdoin, and Finn's father, Mike, as it so happens, a past Long Island lacrosse player at Nassau County and National Power Chaminade. Midway through the second, Massapequa has scored the last 3. Hall, Lufty, and Gibbons. This is Colin Gleason trying to set up the short stick. Essie with the dodge from X. Now Gleason is matched up against a pole, takes his run and flips over. Shot never got all the way to the cage, and it's gobbled up there by Joseph Bednar. O'Connor running away from Hall. And a one-handed grab by Kavanaugh, much to the delight of the crowd. Fairfield Prep gets a touch. "12 minutes without a goal. Last year's matchup was 8-2 at the break. Massapequa just wore down Fairfield Prep by winning a bunch of faceoffs. At least early, the narrative is different because the Jesuits are even at the X. Flag is thrown as Reale carried. Now from behind is Grandolfo. Ethan Grandolfo spinning there against Brower, not giving up any ground. EMO upcoming for Fairfield Prep. Spun from the top and it's off the pipe. Scucciarini might have gotten a piece of it as it went by. It's picked up by Dan Callan, and the penalty can be enforced. It's a slash against the Chiefs. Second extra man opportunity for Fairfield Prep. Sean Gillespie is summoned once again for the man down unit as Dan Callan takes the penalty. Jesuits 0 for 1 on the extra man. It was just a 30-second infraction back in the first quarter. Bit of a delay on the restart as Tim Radomski requires a bit more of an explanation than just the signal to the scorers table for the slash. That takes out one of his best senior close defenders, Dan Callan, who's bound for Stony Brook. From the angle, a jump shot does not hit the target. Patrick McAlevey. McAlevey with the return feed to Reale. Behind the cage for Dunleavy, part of this extra man unit. On the crease, a great look and a rip and a score. Patrick McAlevey. Great off-ball player and finding a soft spot there.
Fairfield Prep goal scored by number 32, Pat McAlevey.
We are tied up at 3. What a terrific find. Ethan Grandolfo with his second point. Setting up the extra man goal for McAlevey, who also has a father that played Long Island lacrosse. Jim playing his high school ball at Sewanaka before a tenure at UMass. Fairfield Prep cannot play make it, take it. Petrakis pushing forward, getting knocked down. Loose ball push, it'll stay with Massapequa. The great battle at the face-off X continues. Massapequa has won 4 of 7. Max McGillicuddy for Fairfield Prep coming in at 74%. Angelo Petrakis around 80. Gleason, sharp angle, save for O'Connor. Finn O'Connor has had a strong first half against this dangerous offensive unit of Massapequa. Their top 6, all returners, all with starting experience. That slips by Sean Fox. The turnover creates an unsettled situation for Sam Lufty. Without numbers, Lufty through 2 defenders with 2 minutes to go in the second quarter. The extra man goal for Fairfield Prep ended a 14-minute drought. Patrick McAlevey scoring his 4th of the season. Thomas Greenblatt edging forward. That shot deflected on the closeout by Sean Fox. Garrett Gibbons winding up. And Fox with a good defensive play, just a sophomore. His coach saying 140 pounds soaking wet. But as a freshman was all conference, and a great future ahead for Sean Fox, who's already a major contributor for Fairfield Prep in his 2nd varsity season. Tough assignment for the sophomore Fox against the senior Gibbons, bound for Maryland. Now 60 ticks to go, first half. Greenblatt pivots. Now this is Gibbons. Takes a hit on the helmet from Fox, and a flag is thrown. Greenblatt holds. We are tied at 3 with the flag down and just seconds remaining in the first half. There was a penalty at the end of the first that Massapequa allowed to run down. And now the penalty assess will begin in the third, and the Chiefs will start that half with possession. So an entertaining first half with Fairfield Prep jumping out to a 2-0 lead. Massapequa scoring 3 straight. And then in the final 3 minutes, the Jesuits draw even. It is halftime in Connecticut. In our game of the week, brought to you by HSS, the #1 hospital for orthopedics with locations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The best is now nearby. HSS game of the week, halftime, and we are tied. Massapequa of Long Island, Fairfield Prep of Connecticut, 3 apiece. And one of the interesting storylines of this game is the face-off battle between Max McGillicuddy of Fairfield Prep and Angelo Petrakis of Massapequa. And we send it down to Amanda Puglisi, who has an interesting story on the Face-Off X.
That's right, David. And you know, a lot of times with lacrosse, we always hear about teams or even tournaments that are raising money for a foundation or for a charity. But as the guys in News 12 the Bronx are going to tell us, there is a senior at Cardinal Hayes who is putting forth an individual effort to raise money in the battle for cancer.
Kingsbridge's Mustafa Dafe had never picked up a lacrosse stick until his sophomore year at Cardinal Hayes High School. Once he did, he found himself drawn to face-offs.
I wasn't really good at it at first, but Coach saw a lot of potential in me, so I just stuck with it.
And he's gotten pretty good. This December, Dafe invited to a national face-off competition where he stopped by a kiosk for the Headstrong Foundation, which raises money for families impacted by cancer.
My grandmother had died of cancer, so, you know, and she was a very important person in my life. Players, you know, who had touchdowns, 3-pointers, so he told me that I should do it for face-off wins.
So Mustafa set up a website where anybody can pledge a donation for each face-off he wins, with a goal of raising $2,500 this season.
As soon as they told me about it, I just felt like it's something I needed to do. So I just felt like I'm doing this for her, but also like many lives affected by cancer.
While Mustafa admits he's a little more nervous on face-off since he started working with Headstrong, it doesn't seem to be impacting his performance. He's winning over 65% of them this year, and his teammates are starting to get into it.
Sometimes we tell him you have to raise $100 just to set the bar high. But like, we believe in him because he's like probably, in my opinion, one of the best face-offs in the league.
Everybody gets on me whenever I lose one, but you know, I'll always try to forget about them when I lost.
As for the future, Daffé is being recruited by some of the top Division II colleges in the country and says he wants to keep his headstrong campaign going when he gets there.
There it is, there it is, there it is.
At Cardinal Hayes, Greg Thompson, News 12, The Bronx.
So the battle of the face-off X is important for Cardinal Hayes, and it's important in this one as Massapequa and Fairfield Prep are tied at 3 at halftime. We have more coming up after this.
Sun is trying to peek through on this overcast day here in Connecticut as we welcome you back to the campus of Fairfield University, hosting today's matchup between Fairfield Prep and Massapequa. Our HSS game of the week is at halftime. Let's take a look back at some of the first half highlights. Fairfield Prep opening up the scoring with a couple of tallies. Ethan Grandolfo, a little more than 4 minutes in, makes it 1-0, and then Mason Reale, a returning All-American, ducks inside for a 2-0 Jesuit start. Massapequa scoreless for the first 10 minutes of the game, and then Eamon Hall would find a soft spot on top of the crease to put Massapequa in front, and then into the second quarter, Sam Lufty right on the welcome mat dunks it in for a 2-2 game early in the second. Garrett Gibbons, a right-handed rip for a 3-2 Massapequa lead. But then before halftime on the extra man, Grandolfo would set up Patrick McAlevey for the extra man goal with 3 minutes to go for a 3-all score, and a low-scoring first half because of the excellent play from the goalies. Nick Scucciarini for Massapequa, a solid opening 24 minutes. And on the other end, Finn O'Connor has been tested against this wildly impressive Massapequa offense, and he has stood his ground. Terrific job by both goalies to make this a low-scoring first half. 3 apiece on the HSS Game of the Week. Second half up next here on News 12 Varsity. Start of the second half back here at Fairfield U. I'm David Resnick, and down on the sidelines is Amanda Puglisi to give us some halftime thoughts.
David, Coach Radomski saying, well, we finally got the bus out of us. Of course, we talk about that slow start. We took some punches, he said, but he likes how his team responded. The big thing there, he says, in the second half is we need to negate our turnovers. We had 6. 2 of the goals for Fairfield Prep came off those turnovers, so that's something that has to be cleaned up. And for Fairfield Prep, Coach Nemi says it's all about the ground ball battle for us. We need to adjust the clears, but he says he's really happy with the way that his team played on the man up. He says that's the best he's played so far.
What did we tell you about Tim Radomski and one-liners? Chiefs now have the bus out of them. They start with possession to begin the third quarter because of a carryover penalty. They're on the extra man for a full minute. 30 seconds of that has elapsed. From the sharp angle, right by O'Connor. Sam Lufty has his second, and the Chiefs are back in front thanks to an extra man goal just 45 seconds in.
Massapequa goal by number 32, Sam Lufty.
Playing catch with Brian Horinsky, and a left-handed rip by the senior bound for Hofstra is by O'Connor. Second lead of the game for Massapequa. On the left is Angelo Petrakis. On the right is Max McGillicuddy. Petrakis bound for Cornell. McGillicuddy will head to Loyola. Petrakis wide of his target on the crease, and Eamon Hall was inches away from a golden opportunity. 6 first half turnovers. That's number 7 for the Chiefs. They turned it over on their first 3 tries, And when they finally didn't turn it over on their fourth possession, they scored. So the turnovers that Massapequa had, plus the even battle at the face-off X, although Massapequa has now taken 5 of 8, has kept this game close, plus the goalie play. Joe Morand, as expected, between the pipes for Massapequa, who causes the turnover with the interception of Thomas Greenblatt. He's an offensive-minded player as he races into the box. Lufty just had his second goal. He retreats. And now behind the cage to Eamon Hall, working with Colin Gleason. Logan Tucker out there, and Garrett Gibbons, the first midfield line for Massapequa. Tucker sets up his dodge against Connor Boyle. And now it's Greenblatt from an angle, frees his hands and scores. Thomas Greenblatt puts Massapequa in front by 2. Largest lead of the evening for the Chiefs.
Massapequa goal by number 5, Thomas Greenblatt.
Sets up his dodge against Kavanaugh. Slide from Hawley was late. And Thomas Greenblatt becomes the 4th different scorer for Massapequa, as they've scored a pair of goals in the first 2:14 of the half. Again, Petrakis and McGillicuddy. Fairfield Prep won the first 2 face-offs. Petrakis has been 5 of 6 since. And McGillicuddy gets called for an infraction. Another victory for Petrakis and company, who's gotten into a rhythm. And perhaps he was affected most by the long bus ride and the abbreviated warm-up for the Chiefs. They did get a solid amount of time, but not nearly what you would think they would prefer if they were home and could control the environment. Although it should be noted that Fairfield Prep was hospitable and allowed them as much time as they needed. Second midfield line on the field for Massapequa, led by Brian Horinsky. But this is the attackman Lufty. Horinsky out there with Owen Vale and Stephen Carmelli, a group that can chew up clock, but a group that can also score and has some offensive punch. Two straight goals for Massapequa here in the third quarter to take the 5-3 lead. Caramelli by 2 defenders. Now it's Horinsky. Liking that left alley, but nothing there, and now a stall warning, having to keep it in the box as Lufty goes to the rack. Nearly 4 minutes gone by into the third quarter. Massapequa controlling possession. An intercepted pass, Sean Fox. Finn O'Connor now in his 3rd year of at least a partial starter. Brendan Howard across. And a turnover the other way. Unsettled for Massapequa, running in, and Colin Gleason knocks it down on the run. Massapequa has opened up a 3-goal lead.
Massapequa goal scored by Colin Gleason.
Massapequa forcing the turnover and racing the other way, unsettled. First real transition opportunity for either team Eamon Hall made the last pass to a cutting Gleason, who has his first goal of the game, extending the run of 3 straight for Massapequa. And this game is starting to evolve to something that looks similar to last year's game, where Massapequa controlled the X, controlled possession, and as a result, the scoreboard. Petrakis, make it, take it. Gleason has a shot that's deflected. Full extension effort by O'Connor. What a terrific job by Finn to race out of the circle to win possession. Successful clear this time. And you imagine Fairfield Prep will look to slow it down and spin it around, as this unit has not seen the ball in quite some time. Again, Joe Moran is between the pipes for Massapequa, splitting time. He's got a tough test right there, and he cannot deny Ethan Grandolfo, who came sprinting into the front of the net.
Fairfield Prep goal scored by number 41, Ethan Grandolfo.
Second goal for Ethan. That ends 3 straight in this quarter for Massapequa. Nobody stopping the ball. An adjacent slide never came, and no chance for Moran as Grandolfo was untouched to the rack. Petrakis, another face-off win. An 8-3 advantage as he comes charging in and misses the cage. Backed up there by Eamon Hall. High rip, and Garrett Gibbons puts it to the back of the net. Off the jump.
Goal scored by number 7, Garrett Gibbons.
Massapequa's offense starting to percolate as they've scored 4 times in this quarter. 4 goals in 6 minutes. Garrett Gibbons with the most recent one, creating separation, peeling away from Sean Fox, the sophomore. Gibbons coming off of a all-county season, was a finalist in the New York State wrestling tournament. So too was Angelo Petrakis, who takes this face-off against a 3-sport athlete, Max McGillicuddy, who plays both football and basketball. For that matter, Petrakis on the gridiron in the fall as well, wins yet another face-off. He's won 9 out of the last 10. Would say he's in a rhythm. Dropped the first 2. Has won 90% since. Coincides with this offense finding a groove. Possession time in this third quarter has been dominated by Massapequa. Gibbons from the outside. A worm burner finds its way by O'Connor. And Massapequa doubling up.
Massapequa goal scored by number 7, Garrett Gibbons.
Gibbons from the outside. Once again, that closeout just a little bit late. And showing his range as a shooter in addition to his ability to dodge. He's really rounded out his offensive game in the last couple of years to be a real complete threat on the offensive end. Petrakis against McGillicuddy. Ball is loose. First time the wings are really getting involved in quite some time. 3-on-3 battle. Still free. McGillicuddy overran it, but there he was to scoop it up. Face-offs in Massapequa's favor, 9-4. Just the second loss in the last 11 for the Chiefs unit. Two goals in the first quarter, Grandolfo and Reali, one in the second. McAlevey on the man up, and Grandolfo has his second tally in the third. That's the goal scoring for Fairfield Prep, as the deficit is now 4. Grandolfo has been smothered by Brower. This dodge from the top for Essie against the short stick. Rotated and pinned in the corner. Connor Boyle in the upper right 90 for Fairfield Prep.
Fairfield Prep goal scored by number 44, Connor Boyle.
On the skip from Essie, a step down by Boyle, a low to high riser that steams by Joe Moran. Tim Radomski of Massapequa looked at Fairfield Prep's offense on film and said, that is a unit that has gotten older and better and more impressive. And this is a Jesuits team that is responding to adversity in a way you have to believe the Jesuits coaching staff is pleased with. As both teams talked about the importance of this matchup to get better, to use this experience to improve their odds come playoff time. Another face-off win for Massapequa and a timeout called by Tim Radomski to maintain possession.
Yeah, well, you dropped this off.
We mentioned the bio of Tim Radomski as he gives some advice to Mike Savella, a sophomore who's trying to earn time at the LSM spot. And what he's done as the head coach, let alone his entire association with the Massapequa program. Last couple of Nassau A titles, 4 overall in his previous 10 years. That magical season in 2014 that set the standard for Massapequa lacrosse, and the consistency, I think that stands out as well. His first season they were 8-9, and since then at least 14 wins and a trip to the county final. Amazing when you consider the programs Syosset, Farmingdale, Port Washington, Hicksville has won a county title. Just challenging Massapequa every year. And there are times for the Chiefs, they could be the second best team in the state, but only the second best team on Long Island, as they've lost the last 2 years in the LIC to Ward Melville. So Massapequa calls timeout to maintain possession, and then out of that stoppage, Garrett Gibbons is triple teamed and lost the ball. So I hope the Chiefs enjoyed their chat, because they just coughed it up. 3:35 to go in the third. Not only are there coaches on the sidelines, but if you listen close enough, you'll hear some in the stands as well. A turnover by Fairfield Prep. Back to Massapequa. They've controlled this quarter. It was tied at 3 at halftime. 5-3, or 5-2 rather, advantage for Massapequa in this frame has created a little separation. Right alley dodge for Greenblatt. Reeled in there by Hall. And now this is Logan Tucker ripping one wide. Last year, Gleason and Gibbons combined for 7 goals. This season, or this game rather, they have 4 through nearly the first 3 quarters. Here's the aforementioned Gibbons matched up there against the LSM Sean Fox, who will take a lot from this experience. Greenblatt with a step. Now Tucker. Massapequa trying to find that short stick matchup to their liking. Boyle is playing defense. 2 minutes to go. Gibbons lost his footing, maintains possession as he gets back to his feet, then looks on the crease for Eamon Hall. Impressive sequence for Garrett Gibbons, and Eamon Hall knocks it down for Massapequa.
Massapequa goal by number 24, Eamon Hall.
One more point for Garrett Gibbons as Hall scores his second. Subtle play by Gibbons, keeping possession as he went down, and as he popped back up, his head was up, looking to feed right away. Fairfield Prep's defense was rotating and scrambling, and you can see the smile from Hall as if to say through that expression, it's a good find, teammate. Another win for Petrakis. Make it, take it for Massapequa. 11-3 the advantage at the dot for the Chiefs. To update that, 11-4 face-offs. More run for the first midfield line. Garrett Gibbons, 7 in blue. Now Logan Tucker working against Max McGillicuddy, who got stuck on defense after losing the faceoff. Massapequa has been patient end of quarters. They held on to the ball at the end of the first and second to maintain possession into the following quarter because of a penalty, but not here. Colin Gleason, a side winding rip. Massapequa is into double figures.
Massapequa goal by Colin Gleason.
Massapequa, first team in 5 games to reach 10 goals against this Jesuits defense. They've scored 7 times in this third quarter after just 3 tallies in the first half. Gleason and Gibbons taking over in this third. They've combined for 4 of the 7. Lufty, Greenblatt, and Hall account for the other 3. Advantage is now 12-4 for Petrakis and company, and why not? He plays make it, take it on his own.
Massapequa
The Fogo with his 4th goal of the season has rounded into form. 2 goals in just 12 seconds. Petrakis bouncing it home after finding an angle. 2-time All-County, returning All-American, the Nassau Player of the Year. Loose ball, battled for, and picked up by Peter Cavanaugh with 10 seconds to go. Has to hurry. Right at the end, McGillicuddy gets bumped off the crease, and time expires on the third quarter. A dominant third for Massapequa as the team from Long Island flexing its strong island muscle. An 8-2 third to take control of our game of the week. Brought to you by HSS, the #1 hospital for orthopedics, with locations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The best is now nearby. Back here on the campus of Fairfield University, and the Jesuits' undefeated season is in serious jeopardy. But if you ask Graham Nemi, these non-league games, these non-conference games are about getting better. It's about improving. It's about using this opportunity to play a top quality opponent to get you ready for the SEC tournament and state bracket as well. I'm David Resnick. Down on the sidelines is Amanda Puglisi with more.
David, of course, this game is all about getting better, but these coaches are also taking it as an opportunity, a learning opportunity on the lacrosse field, but also in life. And as Coach Nemi was just telling his players, you can't pick and choose when to play lacrosse the right way. We have to play the right way all the time. And he says, just like in life, you have to learn the hard way. And that's what they did in that third quarter. They learned the hard way, but he said, look, you learn from it, you get better. Let's play the right way in the fourth quarter. Let's play Fairfield Prep lacrosse.
Great opportunity for the Jesuits to respond in a positive way over the next 12 minutes against one of Long Island's best and the two-time defending Nassau A champs. Angelo Petrakis increases his face-off lead to 13-5. He's won 13 of the last 16 along with his three-man face-off unit, as the fourth quarter is underway at Rafferty Stadium on the campus of Fairfield U. Home of the Stags, but also the Jesuits of Prep. Sam Lufty right on the doorstep. Great job cutting to the crease and making it 12-5.
Massapequa goal scored by Sam Lufty.
That is a hat trick for Sam Lufty. It is set up by Garrett Gibbons after a nice, well-timed cut. Not only did Massapequa, as Tim Radomski said after that first quarter, got the bus out of them, but they also got their frustrations released as well after a sluggish start, trailing 2-1 after the first quarter, even at 3 at the break, outscoring Fairfield Prep 9-2 since the intermission. Sean Fox comes away with possession. Fox lets it rip, and Sean Fox in transition. A spectacular play for the sophomore. Second goal of the season, and he does it off the face-off win.
Fairfield Prep goal scored by number 39, Sean Fox.
There's a kid who plays the right way. Was loading up the second he entered the offensive box. 5'8", 140, soaking wet. But a heck of a player. And one of the best LSMs in the state. McGillicuddy lays a pop right on Mike Savella. Consecutive face-off wins. 12-7 now for Fairfield Prep. So a great start to the fourth quarter after, well, they gave up the goal first, but a nice response to win back-to-back face-offs after a bit of a pep talk from Graham Nemi at the break. Flag is thrown as Brower takes down Grandolfo. Slash is called. Second penalty today against Kenny Brower, who tore his ACL against Fairfield Prep last year. Has recovered to maintain his status as one of the best defensemen in the class of 2019. He is heading to Duke, his second year back with Massapequa after transferring from Kellenberg. So the extra man unit for Fairfield Prep back on the field. We heard from Amanda at the start of the third quarter, Graham Nemi saying that what he saw from his EMO unit was the best he's seen all year. Let's see if he continues to think that after that shot is stopped by Moran. Great stop man down by Joe Moran, the senior. He's part of a unit trying to replace Mike Venezia, the former Nassau goalie of the year. And that's an overhand rip by Grandolfo. A hat trick for Ethan today.
Fairfield Prep goal scored by number 41, Ethan Grandolfo.
Another extra man goal, making the coach look good. Stepping down, overhand release, and we have just a 5-goal game. Face off big here, of course. Can Fairfield Prep win their third straight and continue to build momentum, or will the Chiefs take this one and get the opportunity to take some air out of the ball? Angelo Petrakis answers in the Chiefs' favor. This is Thomas Greenblatt working his way into the box. He steps in at 9:44, and let's see how aggressive Massapequa wants to be with a comfortable lead and possession. Third game in 4 days for Massapequa. Originally scheduled for the weekend, but with the holidays upcoming, rescheduled to this Thursday evening. And a low shot for Thomas Greenblatt, and another score for Massapequa. A 42-second possession ends with goal number 13.
Massapequa goal by Thomas Greenblatt.
A one-on-one win for the Massapequa senior. From distance, on the run, that shot was all about placement and the changing of the angle to beat Finn O'Connor. So much returning firepower to the offensive side for Massapequa. Always hard to say who the favorite is or should be. Luckily, all of that stuff is decided on the field. Angelo Petrakis with the win. 15-7. Massapequa in a good position. Colin Gleason from X. Another player that has slipped. Matched up against the short stick Kavanaugh. Lufty catches and retreats. Watch there by Liam Howley. And it was Kavanaugh again, the short stick. Hawley slides over. And now Sam Lufty, who played midfield his sophomore year, now an attackman, will take the short stick. Trying to slip it to Tucker, and he just sweeps it in. Logan Tucker did not catch it cleanly, but stayed right on top of it to get it by O'Connor.
Massapequa goal by Logan Tucker.
Fairfield Prep calling timeout. The deficit is 7. That's backyard ball right there. Does not have to be in your stick to count. Instead of a quick stick, that was a sweep stick. So Logan Tucker makes it 14-7. Timeout, Jesuits, 7:51 to go. It's still early for the Jesuits, entering 4-0. Massapequa in their 10th game of the season. So for the Jesuits, some big games upcoming. They're 3-0 in conference play, and they'll resume their SEC slate against Xavier on the road. Then they'll have Chaminade later on in May, a big matchup against New Canaan. Some other non-league games out of state. Graham Nemi trying to put together a schedule that's challenging, that gives his squad a good test. They're in Class L in the state of Connecticut. That means competing against teams like Ridgefield, the defending champs, and Darien, New Canaan, Staples in the state tournament. As for the SEC, Fairfield Prep has been the premier program, at least a share of 8 straight regular season titles, 3 straight tournament championships, and 13 years in a row appearing in the finals. But can they take that next step back to the state winner's circle, a title that they've won 6 times, but not since 2013 under their former head coach, Chris Smallkeis, who built the program over his 29 years, 6 state titles in all. Graham Nemi, just the 3rd head coach in Fairfield Prep history, takes over a program with a lot of history of success, and he has continued that in his first 2 years. 7:10 to go, 4th quarter. Fairfield Prep winning about 1/3 of the face-offs, not quite the 50-50 that they hoped for. But their early wins led to early goals. Massapequa's turnovers also gave extra possessions to the Jesuits. But an 8-2 3rd quarter, the difference in this one. Massapequa shaking off some early rust, late arriving to the venue, delayed start after some traffic on the way from Nassau. Back up to Massapequa, Chiefs with possession, nearing the midway point. Kenny Brower restarts. Good to see him healthy a year after tearing his ACL against this opponent. Finn O'Connor on a 10-man ride, coming out of his crease and getting called for an infraction on the far side of the field. And so even though he intercepted the pass, it stays with Massapequa. We thought we might see some creative ideas when it came to the ride, especially if Fairfield Prep was losing a series of faceoffs early. Never really came to that until that moment. First midfield unit, Garrett Gibbons. Now Logan Tucker Fakes, steps down, puts one on net. Smothered by O'Connor. Wasn't a lot of steam on that shot. O'Connor handled it easily. Gleason on the strong ride. A lot of physicality there as O'Connor tried to get by. Gleason gets called for a hold without possession, so he successfully jarred it free, but then was called for the infraction as both players were going after the loose ball. It's one way to protect the goalie. Peter Cavanaugh passing it to Grandolfo, and the ball slipping out of his cross. Massapequa with possession, calling timeout. Things getting a bit more physical in the final 5 minutes. Tim Radomski gathers the troops for one final conversation before Massapequa is primed to close out this non-league victory. So for Massapequa, they will improve to 4-2 in the non-conference to go along with their 4-0 mark in league play, in which they have been pretty dominant, winning 4 games by nearly 14 goals. They'll improve their road record to 3-2 this season, and as we mentioned earlier, their only losses to Garden City and Chaminade. The Trojans and Flyers, a combined 15-0, and both ranked in the top 10 of the Inside Lacrosse national rankings. They were 17-2 overall last year, winning that county title. They'll be 8-2 and another 449 with matchups against Farmingdale and Syosset upcoming. These are the type of games that get you ready for those contests. When you play Garden City and Chaminade and Fairfield Prep, there aren't many other teams out there that will be better. And so as you enter that stretch in late April and early May against the competition that you will most likely see again come the county playoffs, you know you've already played against the best. It's a formula that has worked over 10 seasons for Tim Radomski. They believe that the county title is theirs to win because that's where they set their goal and that's what they work at every day. It's been a successful formula. Greenblatt missing in tights. Greenblatt picks it up and dumps it in. Massapequa's ride has given Fairfield Prep some difficulty in the last couple of minutes. And Thomas Greenblatt scores again for Massapequa.
Massapequa goal by Thomas Greenblatt.
So Greenblatt just outworking a pair of Jesuits around the crease. It's a 15-7 game. Similar score to last year's 12-5 Massapequa victory, but we got here in a bit different fashion. Last year's game was 8-2 at halftime. This year's contest was 3 apiece. Max McGillicuddy for Fairfield Prep doing much better against Angelo Petrakis compared to last year's effort, where the Cornell-bound senior won 18 of 20. Petrakis a win there with under 4 minutes to go. Angelo Petrakis and company winning 16 of 24 face-offs. Chiefs cut down on their unforced errors that plagued them in the opening 12 minutes. And it should be smooth riding on the way back to Long Island. And a nice way for them to enter their holiday weekend and school break next week. Loose ball, picked up by Tucker. Stall warning is on. Massapequa has to keep it in. Colin Gleason will take it to a corner. Gleason takes a shot at the cage. That high rising shot ends up in the corner. That is where the Chiefs will restart. Tim Radomski a bit nonchalant in our call earlier this week about the prospects of his team, but just part of the process. They have the goal of getting to where they got last year. That was a county final and a date with Ward Melville. The Patriots, once again, one of the best teams in Suffolk A, along with Smithtown West. We'll have the Woodstick Classic next Saturday. Manhasset and Garden City. Garden City undefeated. Manhasset's only loss to Cold Spring Harbor. Indians recently beat Darien of Connecticut. Tucker, an exclamation point. Skipped to the junior, and the Albany bounder knocks it in.
Massapequa goal by number 42, Tucker.
16-7 score. It's now 4 straight for Massapequa after Fairfield Prep closed the gap to just 5. 66 seconds to go. Massapequa has played double the amount of games of Fairfield Prep. They're just getting into rhythm. Xavier is next, as we showed you, and expect a lot from this Jesuits club that has won 29 games in the last 2 seasons, made a couple of appearances in the state quarterfinals. 30 seconds to go. Petrakis picking up his play. Winning 17 of the last 23 faceoffs. And pretty much business as usual for Massapequa. A non-league victory over a quality opponent. That's what makes lacrosse in the tri-state so special. It's a Thursday night, and you've got this terrific quality match that goes in Massapequa's favor. 16-7 final. After a sleepy start, Massapequa shows why it's once again one of the best teams on Long Island. So a 9-goal victory for the visiting Chiefs over Fairfield Prep. It's a final from Fairfield U. Back in a moment to wrap up this Massapequa victory on our Game of the Week, brought to you by HSS, the #1 hospital for orthopedics, with locations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The best is now nearby. 16-7, Massapequa behind a 8-2 third quarter takes down Fairfield Prep. 16-7. This game completes a home and home. Massapequa last year won 12-5 on Long Island. And today, here in Connecticut, we'll see if this is a series that continues into the future, as sometimes good quality opponents can be hard to come by, especially to align schedules. Fairfield Prep got off to a great start. They scored the first 2 goals of the game. By halftime, it was 3-3. 8-2 in the third quarter. Colin Gleason, Garrett Gibbons, even Angelo Petrakis scoring a goal, winning 17 of 25 faceoffs overall. And then in the fourth quarter, when things got a little bit tighter, a 5-goal difference with 10 minutes to go, the Chiefs ended the game on a 5-goal run. 2 of those scored by Thomas Greenblatt, part of a well-balanced offensive performance by Massapequa. Balance and offense is what you come to expect from the Chiefs. And speaking of Thomas, he is standing by with Amanda Puglisi.
So Thomas, you guys had to battle not just one of the toughest teams in Connecticut, but you also had to battle that long bus ride. What did you see and feel from your team in that first quarter, and what really was a change for you guys?
You know, we did come out a little bit slow. They got the first 2 goals of the game, but we knew if we stuck to the game plan that we'd be able to put them in eventually, and that's exactly what we did.
Really, it was the third quarter, and that carried over into the fourth quarter. So what was the change at halftime? Was something said, or were you guys just really feeling a little more comfortable?
We are, for the past 2 years, we're known as a second-half team, and that's when we started to pour it on, and the chemistry started going, and we started to get the open looks, and we started to convert, and we punched in a lot of goals in that second half.
This was your third game in 4 days, and then, of course, you have Syosset and Farmingdale back-to-back. So what are you learning from this game, and what are you guys taking, especially as you get ready for the playoffs?
To play such a good team like them, one of the top teams in Connecticut, it never hurts. It can only help us. Those 2 tough teams, like you said, Farmingdale and Syosset, just battle tests. We know they're going to come out tough, and we just got to play like we can.
I heard some LI chants as you guys were walking off the field, so it must be really a proud moment for you guys to win this battle?
Yeah, of course. Especially Long Island versus Connecticut. It was the big headline. We knew we just had to take care of business, and that's what we did.
All right, good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, David, back to you.
Thomas Greenblatt, part of a balanced offensive performance for Massapequa. And speaking of this Long Island, Connecticut thing, Manhasset, as we mentioned, took down Darien just the other day. So Strong Island once again proving its lacrosse worth. Well, on a Thursday night in Fairfield County, we were treated to 2 of the best teams in the tri-state. A Connecticut power in Fairfield Prep and one of Long Island's best, Massapequa, completing a home-and-home series that began last year. A 12-5 victory a season ago, and Massapequa earns the sweep with a 16-7 victory today over Fairfield Prep. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday at 8 p.m., recapping all of the best action of lacrosse in the tri-state for Stick Check. And then next Saturday night, the Hospital for Special Surgery Game of the Week. It's the Woodstick Classic, Garden City and Manhasset. Again, next Saturday night right here on News 12 Varsity. So for Amanda Puglisi and our entire crew, I'm David Resnick. Once again, the final score, 16-7. Massapequa takes down Fairfield Prep on the HSS Game of the Week.